Hey guys, Dr. Eric with Complete Muscle Recovery. So I get asked all the time by patients, how do your hands do this? How are your hands able to sustain working on people all day, every day? And I've been doing it since 2012, so now for years, right? And so my answer is pretty simple. At the beginning, it was very difficult. I use the analogy of running a lot, and so the first time you run, one block is really hard. If you stay consistent with it after, say, 10 times, one block feels easier, right? And so the first month of me just doing hands-on care, I would go home and turn my hands upside down into cups of ice just to ice my thumbs and hands, so because they were just sore and achy from it, right? And so I wanted to make this video with my top three favorite exercises for hand strength. Now, I always want to make the distinction. So a mechanic strength versus, say, somebody who does manual therapy every day, they're very different because I'm not necessarily looking for crushing strength. So they are wrench, wrench, wrench. So they have a really incredible grip, but it's a quick strength. And it's not like a sprint versus a marathon, right? It's a very fast grip, strong grip. My grip is more sustained, right? So I'm looking to be able to hold that technique, whatever I'm doing, along the entire length of the leg, right? And so it's different than just crushing, it's a sustained. So these three exercises are geared more towards that sustained strength, all right? So the first one we're going to do is get into this jar. Now, this is just a jar of cotton balls for this demonstration. In reality, I would get a larger bucket and I'd fill it with either dry rice or I'd fill it with like beans or something, some type of hard material, but that is I can get my hands in. And what I'm doing is opening and gripping. So opening from the side and gripping on this. So using this cotton balls as a demo, I would get my hand deep inside of there and move it up and down. I'd bend my wrist and move it up and down. I'd get all the way straight and move it up and down. So what I'm doing is gripping and opening, right? And I would just do this over and over and over again to get that resisted strength training all through in all planes of motion. I'd wiggle my fingers around. That's a great way to get everything warmed up. Another thing you can do is you could use a dumbbell or a kettlebell or even like a bumper plate, like a weight plate. And so you're going to do squeeze strengthening, right? So I'm going to take and I'm going to squeeze the top of this dumbbell and hold, right? And now I might even add in some motions, but again, I'm pushing and squeezing and holding this. And this is a sustained strength as well, right? Now, as I was training, we would do challenges to see who could hold it the longest or who could hold the heavier weight. So we got up to about a 35-pound plate. But initially, what you're doing is just holding, this is just a 5-pound dumbbell, right? So replacing it with a kettlebell, I would grip the top of the kettlebell like so, and then hold, right? Now, I could also put a towel around and grip the towel, right? So you could do the same with a bumper plate. You can grip the edges of a bumper plate and hold, and I would just do almost like a farmer's carry, walking around, right? Trying to just move my wrists a little bit up and down. So I'm looking for, again, sustained strength over a long period of time, right? Now, the final exercise, those were both fairly flexing dominant, right? So you get some resistance when you're extending, but we also want to make sure to acknowledge the extensors. Now, there are fancy tools that almost look like a glove you can put on to open up and you're under resistance. This is just a rubber band, right? And so whether you want a specific tool to do it or a rubber band for resistance, that's fine. But you probably have seen this where you just open up and close, open up and close. So what I'm trying to do is work these extensors because the flexors are only able to get as strong as the extensors are, right? It's like your bicep and tricep. You can't have an enormous bicep without having some tricep, right? And so I want this to be stronger and stronger so that I'm able to get more grip, more sustained strength, right? And I'll even do sustained holds with this. So I'll hold open, maybe to a 5 count, and relax it in. Hold open. While I'm holding, I can do different planes of motion. If I want to make it a little more difficult, I just add another rubber band, right? As you know, rubber bands have different densities, so I could get a different type of rubber band and do that. If I'm looking to specifically work my thumb, I might put it around and just do thumb exercises, right? Work on that thumbs up. So those are my top three. So just to recap, a jar filled, or a bucket even I've seen, filled with rice or beans, like hard beans, somewhere that you could put your hand in and move that hand around. That's number one. Then number two is either a dumbbell, kettlebell, or a bumper plate, and I'm holding kind of that sustained hold. And number three, either a rubber band, adding those extensors, or they look like almost a glove that have individual fingers on them, and I can add resistance that way as well. So good luck getting your hands and your grip stronger.